You're listening to the 14th source for all geeky and nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I am Dee Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And we are your two overeducated, codependent nerd hosts, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses in the episode for Friday, July 25th, 2025.
Yeah, sorry, I guess we were out last week.
We don't need to apologize for every time we're gone. We always come back.
No, it's fine. We're old.
Well, speaking of old, actually, the thing I wanted to briefly touch on at the beginning here, it just came to me, because I don't know if you know this, Andrew, I'm a big nerd.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I hate that this is what you found out. So I listen to like podcasts about people talking about Doctor Who. There's one that I really like. It's called Doctor Who, The Writer's Room. Really good commentary analysis of scripts of Doctor Who. They went through literally the entirety of the original series, and they've been on so long, they do one podcast a month. Must be nice.
Well, at this point, we do about one a month, too.
That's about right. But they've been doing it for so long, they're actually into the current series, right? The Return series, and they're up to series 7. And they're kind of talking about the build up to the 50th anniversary, which made me think of the ostensible 60th anniversary that RTD did a couple years ago. And I'm like, why isn't the BBC celebrating the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who coming back? Like that's this year is the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who's return.
Right.
That seems like a milestone. I'm just saying, like, there's so much reverence and nostalgia by the BBC and by the writers of the show for the original series. Like, the new series has been around and not long enough to
have its own anniversaries, right?
Have its own nostalgia. Yeah. So I'm like, are they missing 20 years is a long fucking time for a TV show, whether it's a continuation of an old series or not. And so I'm writing a letter, Andrew.
Tap, 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 tap.
From America. Why aren't you celebrating this British institution, BBC? I don't know. Whoa. I just typed that into Google and got something very different.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing.
So that's where we're celebrating it. And by doing this, happy 20th anniversary, Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about actual science fiction, Andrew.
We are. Yes, we are. Mm-hmm. We're here to talk about Stargate Atlantis. No, I'm teasing. Sorry, that was going to be my
talk about Farscape.
That was going to be my my random patter intro. That was good. I literally bought a Blu-ray player just so I could watch Stargate Atlantis. Although actually other shows on Blu-ray. It's really weird. I got rid of all my DVDs years ago. Now here I am like transitioning back into buying discs because I don't trust streamers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no, we're actually here to talk about. So this last week was a big week. Speaking of anniversaries, it wasn't.
Yep.
Right. It wasn't. But it was the release of the first 2 episodes of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds season 3.
They started off in traditional Star Trek fashion, which is the first episode was part 2 of the Cliffhanger season finale from season 2. Oh, I guess spoilers, but you should know that if we're talking about.
Oh yeah, There's going to be lots of spoilers here for these first 2 episodes, and I guess the end of season 2. I like that you say
first spoiler. Season 2 ended.
I like that you say that's a typical fashion, but honestly, the cliffhanger, I guess. It started with season 3 of TNG with Best of Both Worlds, and then every season of TNG, Deep Space Nine started doing a lot of it. But not all the time.
Right.
Voyager started doing it at some point, if not. Did they do all that? I know they have a few, especially by the end of the show, and they're all ridiculous. Discovery and Strange New Worlds didn't have a cliffhanger at the end of season 1, so season 2 is a bit of a twist.
Oh, which actually brings up sort of like one talking point I have, which is I think I'm sick of cliffhanger season finales. Yeah, no,
I'm not a big fan. Actually, I remember being upset at the end of season 2, like, oh, really, guys, you're doing this shit to me?
Because it takes a lot, especially for streaming platforms now. It can be. Everybody remembers Severance,
dude,
right?
It was 2 years from season 2 ending, right?
it's ridiculous. And I think the thing I was thinking about while watching the opening is that it makes for a pretty bad first episode of a new season. Like, what people have been hearing good things about Strange New Worlds. I don't want to take the time to watch 2 seasons, which they should do that because it's an incredible show. They pop in this first episode. It's like it's just chaos. And like then we watched episode 2. I'm like, this is a fantastic season opener. Because it's just bonkers and
it's just bonkers
fun in every single way that Star Trek can be.
Right.
While still being definitively Star Trek.
I'd say the season 3 premiere is really just, okay, you had to finish that cliffhanger and they wrap it up and then boom, we go straight to the actual premiere of season 3,
right.
Which is episode 2, something wedding something.
Yeah, right. That's it. But literally though, like what in the middle of the first episode, my wife was like, I see why they dropped 2 at once because they had to get through this.
Oh no, and that was actually they had to basically. It almost feels like they realized like, oh fuck, dude, we got to wrap up this cliffhanger, and it's gonna be be kind of dark, and then okay, but let's release 2 episodes at once, so everyone is not so like disillusioned by downer episode show,
which made me kind of upset because like now that's like one less week of new Star Trek I get.
Right. And honestly, I kind of I want to talk about episode 2. I want to talk about Wedding Bell Blues. I had to look it up what it is. Because it's a weird episode. It's a lighthearted episode. It's silly. It features a very surprising guest star. And I'll just say it's Rhys Darby. And it also like digs at I joke there's like 3 levels of deep cut in this episode, which to me is fascinating because anyway, we'll get to it. It features the return of it's basically, hey, 6 months after the episode you just watched, which by the way only further accentuates that the first episode of the season was in fact just the end of season 2. It's like, hey, 6 months later,
everybody's haircuts are different.
Everyone's haircuts are different. We're fixing the Enterprise, yada yada. And Christine Chapel comes back from her internship or whatever the hell it was called with Roger Corby, who we all know and love from the classic season 1 episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of? He's definitely much creepier in that episode, but when you watch the episode, you'll find out why. She shows back up, from her thing. And she brings Roger Corby, who at this point is basically her fiance, right?
Oh, you mean season 1 episode of the original series?
Of the original series, yeah. What Are Little Girls Made Of? Well, I'm saying that's where he's originally. That's where he's
written by Robert Bloch. Holy shit! Okay, that's wild.
Yeah. So we have this thing where basically, Spock is thinking, "Hey, this is this girl I've been kind of seeing. She's back. We said we were not going to really We're not going to wait for each other, but also she's back. So, it's got that typical boy's been waiting for his girlfriend to come back after summer vacation. Mm-hmm. And she does, and she's got another boyfriend. But then it takes a twist because, and I want to give the pitch, right? That Spock then goes to the bar on the ship. I love the ship has a bar, of course.
Did your submarine have a bar, Andrew?
No, it didn't. It didn't. That's why I'm so disappointed. And there's a mysterious bartender, a Vulcan that Spock sees, although we, the audience, see him as something different,
right?
And basically becomes the what do you want? What's your wish? I wish that things could be different, whatever, right? I wish this I were having what I wanted with Christine Chapel,
right?
And of course then Spock wakes up in bed with her it's our wedding day, we're getting married. And this is one of those episodes. It's a someone wished on a monkey paw, and by monkey's paw I mean Rhys Darby. Everyone just accepts that things are different. Almost everyone does. And they're and Spock's getting married in the way you'd expect it to work.
It's interesting because it really reveals in a lot of ways, because of the sort of the freedom that this show has with being basically an episodic style anthology show. Mm-hmm. It shares a lot of DNA. I mean, literally with season 2, with the Lower Decks, in that they have the liberty to go not as bonkers as Lower Decks could, but pretty bonkers. And it's just, we were both sad with the end of Lower Decks, but with episodes like this, it's just it just was a nice breath of fresh air, especially like you said, coming after that first episode, which was not a breath of fresh air, it was a breath of it was a held breath of tension and anxiety.
Right.
It was a good episode. I should say that. Like, it wasn't bad. It was just like, it was a lot.
It was, right. And so this episode is just kind of this romp where we see we're in this like altered reality kind of state. And we start to realize that this bartender, who now takes the role of an Andorian wedding planner.
Oh, is this a Star Wars crossover? Andor?
No, Andorian.
No? Whoa.
But again, we the audience see him as his true form of Rhys Darby. Right. And of course, the idea that somebody realizes there's something wrong here, right? In fact, Christine Chappell's, boyfriend, Roger Corby, is the first one who's like, wait a second, no, this is not right. You're not marrying Christine, I am. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like silliness and hilarity ensues. We have this silly character.
So you mentioned that there's layers upon layers here.
There's layers.
Like we said, spoilers. What's the first layer you want to attack here?
So the character's never named in the episode. Mm-hmm. However,
I gave him a fucking name.
You gave him a name that is a name. It's not necessarily officially the character's named Trelane, and he wears a coat that is the same coat that the character Trelane would wear in the 1967 episode Squire of Gothos.
Okay.
So this is an original series episode where they find this kind of weird, like kind of mischievous imp-like person on a planet. By the way, he moves the planet. It's very silly.
As you do.
And it's this thing where he's like, he's been studying Earth. He's so fascinated with it, except he still thinks it's the 19th century.
Ah, I see.
And so it's this character who, in the original series, it was just this weird, like, they're confronted with this person who seems to have he can freeze people, he can teleport people. Mm-hmm. He seems almost omnipotent, but not omnipresent. Like, he doesn't know everything, but he seems to have a lot of power. And it was like a one-off. They did it. It ends. And you didn't watch the Squire of Gothos, did you?
No.
Okay.
I've only seen the Futurama episode. Yeah.
Which directly references the Squire of Gothos. Mm-hmm. So it's an episode that kind of, and again, spoiler for Dan, but also for anyone that hasn't seen it. After typical William Shatner-esque, antics of fighting the bad guy, mm-hmm. It basically ends with the realization that this character, Trelane, his parents show up. He's in fact a child. Mm-hmm. And his parents are like, oh man, sorry, brah. We didn't mean for this guy to harass you. We're going to take care of him. Move along. Hey, thanks for everything. Right. And it was kind of that thing of like, oh, wow, it was basically like this. It was like a god baby, right? Is kind of the premise. Now, that episode happened. It was a fun romp. But it sort of always felt suspiciously connected to another episode or series of a character, really, from 1987, Encounter at Farpoint, where they introduced an omnipotent being named Q, as played by John Delancey.
And that's the series premiere.
That's the series premiere. Yeah. And honestly, Star Trek fans had made that kind of connection in the 80s. And in fact, there's a novel written by Peter David called Q Squared,
R.I.P.,
that actually directly connects Trelane to Q. I don't know. I haven't read the novel, but I think the idea is that they suggest that in fact Q is his parental supervisor, like his senior Q handler that takes care of him because he's basically still a child.
Right.
Now it's interesting. So that's like the second layer. Now, why is that relevant? Well, as it ends up, our show, after we introduced Trelane, played by Rhys Darby, and I want to emphasize, no one in Star Trek sees his real face.
Right.
Right. So it's the idea that's like, of course, there's
just
a fan
of like a blue dude,
an Andorian or a Vulcan or whatever, right? He's always has a face on. That's so the fans aren't like, why didn't Spock recognize Trelane? Like, well, because he'd never seen the motherfucker, right? Like, got it.
And by this point, he hadn't met him yet.
Well, no, but I'm saying, why didn't he recognize Trelane in the Squire of Gothos?
Right? Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
He was just he's just really trying to forget that day because it was awkward, He's not gonna be like, oh, Captain, I experienced something like this before when I was real jelly of Christine. You know, like he's not gonna dump that on his new captain. Nope. No, not at all. So they bring back this original series character. It's a real, you know, it's very silly. Again, Rhys Darby I think does a great job. What's funny is the original Trelane was played by William Campbell, who also played one of the Klingons in the original series, Koloth. Oh, it's just funny that like. With weird mutton choppy chops and whatever. Like, honestly, Rhys Darby, like, I'm convinced, yeah, they just cast a guy to play the same part. Like, it's the same character, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, he didn't, like, it's pretty, not too different from the character he played in Our Flag Means Death as well.
Oh, right. I mean, it is, it's a very foppish whatever, except now with godlike powers.
Indeed.
Now, the reason why this episode is, you know, a lot of people are like, oh man, is because the episode ends the same way the Squire of Gothos does.
Yeah.
You know, his dad shows up to take care of him, except now they did a rug pull.
Right. Well, his dad shows up. It's a pulsing ball of blue,
which is what it was in the Squire of Gothos.
Right.
As well.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
and except as it is in the, I think generally it's a pulsing ball of something energy in that Futurama episode, which it's called Where No Fan Has Gone Before.
Right. And I didn't realize that you referenced that in our texts, that I'd forgotten that they were directly referencing the Squire of Gothos, which now they're also, you know, forward referencing the Wedding Bell Blues. But the idea now is that Trelane's father is voiced by John Delancey, Q, and he's credited as Q.
Is he? I didn't see that. Yeah.
Well, in like the IMDb's, like, he's credited as Q and Rhys Darby as Trelane, or sometimes Trelane/Q, but mostly just Trelane.
Sure.
So that's kind of like, oh wow, we just finally did the official fist bump of these two characters. They are in fact connected. Okay, now this is where we're gonna go. Wait, let's get a little bit deeper. And I am so sorry, Dan. I'm going to spoil you on something from the early 2000s.
Okay.
You can put your earmuffs on if you want.
Nah.
There's a very dumb storyline in Voyager.
Okay.
Where they reveal that the Q have stagnated, which you've already kind of seen. You saw the first episode with Q and Voyager.
Right.
That follows into another episode where they reveal the Q are now at war with themselves. And one of the premises that Q tries to mate
yes.
with Captain Janeway.
Right.
And eventually he mates with another Q, which they acknowledge is weird and not something they've ever done before.
Yeah.
So like in Voyager, they're like, no, we've never really done this. That's weird. But they do it. And then later in Voyager, Q shows up with his son.
Oh, interesting.
And so in a strictly non-linear, non-whatever timey-wimey way, one could argue, and I'm just gonna subscribe to this because it doesn't matter. It's all headcanon. That in fact, this is just Q Jr., as he's referred to, a little bit older, but back in time, right? Because again, Q can time travel, so it has no. So, and of course, the joke is that Q Jr. was played there was a baby that played him, but also most notoriously played by Keegan Delancey, one of John Delancey's sons.
Yeah.
So it's this funny idea that now we've like full wrapped this in 4 different shows, really, if you count Strange New Worlds, of this is in fact the, and now we know that in Squire of Gothos, the mom and dad that come to pick up Trelane is the Q we know, with a different voice, because in Squire of Gothos it just doesn't sound right. This is where if George Lucas were in charge, he would go record John Delancey and Susie Plaxton doing the dialogue.
Yeah, I don't think John Delancey had his SAG card in 1960. What?
Six. 7. Nor 6. Yeah, nor did Susie Plaxton, who played Mama Q.
Right.
But it's this weird kind of like, oh man, did you like? You did one of these things. It's like, for the fans that are dumb like me, are like, you did a big thing. But honestly, if you don't know any of that, the show it still works. It's still a delight.
That's the thing, right? Like, in a very similar way, I think maybe in some cases a little more successful than the Lower Decks. But I'm not saying Lower Decks wasn't successful in this way, but like, you can have a show with references and tie-ins and winks and nods, as well as just overt continuity connections. And if you don't know all that, where this episode succeeds, if you don't know all of that or any of that, it's still an enjoyable, fun romp on its own. The only reason why I maybe kind of knocked Lower Decks down a peg is that they were just shoving those in because that was such a fast show.
I mean, that was kind of its thing.
That was kind of its whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And so but did Strange New Worlds bring on some writers from Lower Decks after that show closed down? Maybe, I don't know, because this is like some Lower Decks level, string connecting conspiracy theory shit, right? It's pretty great.
Well, and you can imagine that someone was like, oh, let's do this thing here. Let's introduce that character. And the funny thing is, so I actually watched The Squire of Gothos after watching Wedding Bell Blues. When you watch it, there's this idea that Trelane doesn't like Spock in that episode. And it works in either temporal direction, right? For me, it was either like he doesn't like Spock in Squire of Gothos because he remembers him as like, you were a shithead then. Or if it's the other way around, it's that he does the Squire of Gothos thing and then decides, actually, you know what? I feel bad for being such a prick to that guy. I'm going to go back and try to help him out, but in his own past, right? Because again, he's a Q. He doesn't really give a shit about temporality and linearity. Because Q does some nonsense.
No, what?
Yeah. I mean, literally, that's like
kind of his whole shtick.
Q has multiple silly time travel episodes.
It makes sense though that Q would eventually want to mate. Because especially even if it's not something his species does, but if you hang around a ship in such close proximity to Riker for so long, you just want to, right? It's he gained horniness by osmosis.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I kind of like it that. But I would say that as an episode, I thought it was fun. We get to see kind of Q stuff. And I like John Delancey, but I actually think Rhys Darby was like more fun. And you could argue it's because it's a more childish version of whereas Q sometimes, especially early on, could be sinister. Right? He's like, I'm a big douche canoe. Where this was like a guy who he just shows up to fuck around. It's like they started with kind of late Q when he shows up just to mess with people. Which in this case was a real fresh of breath air, a real breath of fresh air after super serious Gordon time, war. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm glad. I will say I read an interview or a thing where Rhys Darby says he'd love to come back, and again,
I would love to have him back.
I love this gag of no one from Squire of Gothos could ever see him and make the connection, right? So they can play that game that shows do when they there's something else that is it where every time Star Wars Clone Wars, the joke is that because of a line when Anakin meets General Grievous, he says, I imagined he'd be taller. The premise is he's never met Grievous. So they have this entire 6-season show about the Clone Wars, and they literally go out of their way to make sure that Anakin never shows up in a fight with Grievous.
Right.
Where literally there's certain episodes where he'll run down a different passageway, and then everyone else meets Grievous and Anakin doesn't. So they can play that game where now, these people can't meet Trelane, but Pike can,
right?
Una can, these other people can, and you could even do some fun stuff with that. I would love to see,
for sure.
The inverted what's the TNG episode Tapestry, right? Where Q lets Jean-Luc reevaluate his past. I'd love to see Rhys Darby do that with Anson Mount's Pike of hey, I know you have this thing coming up. Do you want to they already did it with their time travel episode, but they have no, I could change it, man. I'm Q, right? Snap. Right. Except that, of course, the comical implications of something silly. Right. Although I guess they really already did that. But still, I'd love to see Rhys Darby and Anson Mount just have a romp.
So far, my favorite episode with Q in it ever.
Yeah,
because it wasn't a fucking annoyance.
It wasn't, right. Well, and again, I like Tapestry a lot. There's what's the other top Q episode? I'd say All Good Things, the series finale. I like that one too.
Sure.
So but you're right. Q is an obnoxious character. Top scene when Avery Brooks punches him in the face. Real. I do like that. Picard would have never done that.
Right.
So we'll see. It's a fun, and we know we've got one and two, a season 4 and half a season 5. So you never know. Could bring him back.
Could be half a season 5. Is it going to be a short season?
It's 6 episodes, yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that 5-year mission is going to get cut short.
Yeah. What if they do a flux with it, and this entire last season is like 6 episodes of him getting into the him getting hurt and getting put in the box?
No, actually, I really look, they gotta really end it on the right note. The last episode is just Jonathan Frakes as William Riker in the holodeck, wanting to watch the last mission of Captain Pike. Sorry, that's for all the Enterprise fans out there, because that's how that show ended. But anyway, yeah, Star Trek. I'm talking a lot. I didn't mean to cut you off every time.
No, yeah. I know you were excited to talk about the layers.
Tell me about your feelings.
It was awesome.
All right,
I'm excited that there are 8 more episodes to view. We'll be talking more about that as it pop up, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this on record. I'm actually pretty confident that Trelane is going backwards. That like the best way to really interpret this episode is actually a sequel to Squire of Gothos.
Interesting.
Because he's much more, I would say he's much more immature in Squire. Like he has this whole thing where he's General Trelane retired, but you can call me Squire. Like a lot more pretension to it. Where here he seems more like he's still a child fucking around, especially the scene where he like turns Roger Corby into a dog. Right. Like so he's still like childish, but it's like he knows he's a little bit more grown up, I think, from the first episode. Now only dad has to come get him instead of mom and dad.
Looking ahead at the schedule. The stars aligned, Andrew. An episode comes out a day after your birthday and a day before mine.
Oh, look at that.
I am especially excited for episode 4. A Space Adventure Hour is the title, and it's directed by one Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, so I will say I saw an interview they did on like some website, and there's some clips of stuff, and maybe I may have already seen it in the trailer, but boy, there's some weird shit coming up. Which is very much what they do, right? Sure. Like, there's one where they're all dressed up like it's Clue, or it's maybe it's just like a mystery. And then there's one that definitely looks like they're in some sort of like Flash Gordon or like some knockoff of Star Trek looking thing. So I don't know, man. I'm excited to see it. We'll see where it goes.
Exactly. So to infinity and beyond. That's from the show, right?
That's a different show, yeah.
So if you, dear listeners, have your thoughts about the topics we discussed this week, feel free to leave your thoughts as comments on the page for this episode at forallintents.net.
You can also post your comments or engage in conversations with other listeners on our Facebook page.
You can actually have conversations on the social media that Andrew and I frequent, though, which means you can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at dbethelcomics, and you can find Andrew on Mastodon at profounddark@dice.camp.
Now, there's a fun interlude there. I do have a repeater on Blue Sky.
On Blue Ski? What's your
it's the pipe. No, it's that you followed it.
Okay. That'll take you there too.
However, except that the thing is, I can't see what you do unless you have the pipe as well. There's basically Blue Sky connects to the Fediverse through I forget what they call it. So you have to install it on Blue Sky. I don't know how it works. So that's why I just remember I joke because Dan, you said, "Oh, I'm following you now. You got to follow me back," and I can't because you're following my repeater on Blue Sky. The idea is that if I post stuff, the repeater repeats it on Blue Sky and vice versa.
Gotcha.
But since you don't have the repeater, I don't see your shit. Anyway, while you're on our website at forallintents.net, you can also take a look at our YouTube page. You can see that by going a link in the corner. It says YouTube. There you'll find this show simulcast in YouTube. If you do listen to the show on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And as the kids like to say, ring that bell.
We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called Disco Medusae. The other is called District 4. And they're both written and performed by Kevin McLeod of the Clan McLeod, immortal swordsman, graph paper enthusiast, and musician extraordinaire.
You can find his music and more at incompetech.filmmusic.io, and that's all licensed under the Creative Commons 4.0 attribution license.
If you like the show and like to help us out, the best way to do so would be to subscribe to the show using whichever podcasting service you happen to use. What would help us out even more, though, would be to leave some sort of review, whether a text review or using the proprietary magic to help spread the word to new potential listeners through the magic of algorithms.
Now, I would like to say, a new actor in the show, Martin Quinn, in fact, it's like his second episode or third episode. And they're like, hey, we want to put you in that silly Scotty dress uniform that he wore in the
character
season.
wore.
I'm sorry, the character. Well, James Doohan wore in season 3 of Star Trek: The Original Series, where like apparently his dress uniform has a kilt and a tartan.
Of course it does.
So I do think it's funny that now this is an actual Scottish guy wearing it. Actually, according to IMDb, which never lies, the fun fact there is that when James Doohan wore it, he's actually of Irish descent, but the Clan Scott gave permission for him to wear it.
Wow.
So I just like this idea that now it's an actual Scot wearing it.
Right.
But yeah, fun thing. Yeah.
Yep. Well, so until you get permission from the Scott clan to wear their dress wear, I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast.
So you're looking forward to playing with yourself?
Yes, yeah,